It's Wednesday, hump day, as they say, and welcome to today's edition of Daily Distinction. I'm really glad you're here. Thank you. We got a big topic to talk about today as it relates to customers and the customer experience. So want to chat with you about that. My screens are blank behind me. As you can tell, I'm doing a Macintosh update there behind me. So anyway, hope everybody's doing great, whether you're watching live or watching on replay. Here we are on Facebook. You can watch live on Facebook on either if you follow me on Facebook or we're friends on Facebook, on my personal page, on my business page, and also there is a Daily Distinction page on Facebook as well. We're also live on YouTube. We are live on Twitter. We are live on Twitch. And our newest, we are live all the time now on LinkedIn. Really glad about that because talk a lot to entrepreneurs and talk a lot in terms of business. So that's a really good one and a really important one. So thanks for watching. Big discussion today in terms of customers. And Curtis, great to see you. Oh, we're home, not traveling the truck for a while. So glad that you are here today. And Scott, as always, great to hear from you and great to see you. Ernest, haven't seen you for a while. Man, I'm glad you are here. Hello from Texas. I guess things are going well there. And yeah, Dale, it's a new time. So glad that you were here. We bumped it up by an hour to resolve some things and some other folks that have live streams at about the same time. So, hey, hope everything's good in Canada and glad that you are here today. Here's Brian. Here we go. And all part of the crew. By the way, as my great pal Ken Walls has taught me to mention, it's that sharing is caring. So if you enjoy it, please take a moment and share it. My goodness, my pal Mike Clute is in the house. Mike, how are you? It's great to see you. I got to tell you about my friend Mike Clute. When you listen to the hits of Diamond Rio that made them what they are, and Country Music Group of the Year 6 times, the ACMs and CMAs, and also, gosh, Mike, I knew this and I had forgotten it. I was listening to some Blackhawk music the other day, and I noticed that you had involved in that. So Mike Clute is one of the great producers in the history of country music and one of the great guys of all time. And if you were a fan of mid to late 90s, early 2000s country music, you have listened to music that was produced by the great Michael Clute. So glad you're here. Hope all is good with you. Oh, thanks, Brian. I appreciate you sharing. That's really important. Morning in Vegas, afternoon in Lubbock. All right. So here's the fundamental question. What matters most as you deal with customers? What matters most as you deal with customers? And it doesn't matter if you are a solopreneur or if you're somebody working for a big business. What matters most? And I have kind of a trick answer because I will admit to you here at the beginning, it's kind of a trick question. You know what matters most? Everything. I know that sounds like a cop-out answer. It's part of what I talk about in the upcoming book, The Ultimate Customer Experience. It's going to be coming out. We're still waiting for the final word on the release date, but I'll keep you posted on that. But everything matters. And part of the reason that everything matters is because customers are judging you on just about everything. I mean, customers are judging you on everything that you do. I mean, if the drive-through is speedy and they do a great job moving people through the drive-through, I was running an errand earlier this morning, and there's a Starbucks near where we live, which is about true for everyone, right? But there's a Starbucks near where we live, and the line at the Starbucks was just crazy long, and they had people with pads. I've seen an In-N-Out burger here in the West Coast, but first time I'd really seen it at Starbucks. They had people with iPads, and they were going down to the cars to take the order to keep the line moving. All right, so they've stepped it up. That matters, right? The line's moving quickly. So what if you get to the window and your coffee's cold? Do you go, well, at least they moved the line quickly? No, you want the line to move quickly. That matters. And you want your coffee to be hot and good, right? That matters. So when it comes to customers, whether we like it or not, whether it's fair or not, everything matters. Everything matters. See, you can't be certain what's going to matter most to each individual customer. So the proper strategy is to understand that everything matters. So we isolate each point of contact with the customer. And then we start thinking, how do we make this the ultimate? And it's going to be things we don't anticipate many times. So here's one of my favorite stories. As the Ford Motor Company grew, part of what Henry Ford realized is that even though he was running the company, he couldn't do everything in terms of management. So he decides he's going to hire his first chief financial officer, as legend goes. So he brings people to the Detroit headquarters of Ford Motor Company to interview these executives to come on and kind of almost be second in command to Henry Ford. I mean, think about what that would be, right? As the chief financial officer of this rapidly expanding company, the Ford Motor Company. So he invites one of the people interviewing for this job to have breakfast with him, and that's going to be his job interview. And they bring the breakfast, and the conversation is going great, and they set the breakfast down, and the person being interviewed reaches over and grabs a salt shaker, puts a little salt on the eggs, continues the conversation, and instantly Henry Ford says, "This interview is over." And the guy's like, "What do you mean? We were having a great conversation. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about my financial plans for Ford Motor Company." Said the interview is over. And the shocked executive says, "Well, why?" And Henry Ford said, "You put salt on the eggs before you tasted them. And that means you'll spend my money before you know if it will get results." Now, at the end of the day, that's pretty persnickety, right? It's pretty, boy, that's an old grandma term. It's pretty, it's pretty detailed. It's obsessive, right? I mean, I don't say that I would agree with that approach to job interviewing, right? But the person being interviewed, I'm sure it never crossed his mind that he was going to be judged on something like that. But it mattered to Henry Ford, who was making the decision. So the things that we might think are going to matter to customers aren't necessarily the things that will matter to them. By the way, we recently did a study through the Center for Generational Kinetics, and it was a deep study into customer behavior. And I mean, it's one of those, where it's a scientific study. It's one where they pick, and that the people, you have to interview over 1,000 people, and they have to represent the demographic makeup of the country in terms of income and gender and boy, everything that you can imagine. I mean, racial diversity and everything. It's built in there. And so we ask, one of the questions that we ask is, what's the most important thing to you as a customer? Price was number one for only one group. And that's the group whose income was below the poverty line. Price was the most important only for people under the poverty line. Now, you can imagine that makes sense, right? I mean, if my income is significantly challenged, the price of everything is going to be really, really important. But once you got above the poverty line, then it became friendliness, help in the process. It became all of these other things that become so important in delivering the customer experience. So the question is, how many times have we focused on cutting the price, or how many times have we focused on all of those kinds of things, when what customers really want from us is to be able to deliver the type of experience that will create a significant difference? So, hey, before you put salt on your eggs, taste them if you want a job with Ford. but most importantly, because you can't be certain about what's going to matter most to each individual customer, the proper strategy for us to know is that everything matters. So, what matters most in your dealings with customers? Kind of a trick question, because everything matters. And because you don't know which thing is going to matter, focus on how we deliver everything as a part of the ultimate customer experience for your customers. Hey, I want to invite you to join me in the Iconic Inner Circle. Just go to iconicinnercircle.com. First month's on me, and you can quit at any time. So it costs you absolutely nothing to join the Iconic Inner Circle. And you're going to have access immediately to courses on how to create better stories, whether you're in sales or whether you're in consulting, no matter what business that you're in. If you're an entrepreneur, you got to tell the story of your business and your product and your service. So join the Iconic Inner Circle. Like I said, no obligation, no risk. First month, absolutely free. You can leave at any time. Just join in. Go to iconicinnercircle.com. You can access the courses immediately. And you also get every week an assignment, a short video, like a 10-minute video that we do every week that also gives you the steps that you need to take to become iconic. So just go to iconicinnercircle.com and join in. Hey, Colin, I got my first complaint in years recently. He said everything was great, food, drinks, atmosphere. These people took the time to write an email because when explaining to them that bar tables were reserved, I said we had rezos on the table instead of reservations. It's oh my gosh. Colin, and I understand why you haven't. First of all, Colin is my friend in Indianapolis. He works at Late Harvest, a phenomenal restaurant at the Keystone at the Crossing area if you're in Indy. Something, first of all, I totally understand why you haven't had a complaint in years. Because, my friend, you are that great at what you do. Isn't it amazing that they took the time to write because you had rezos on the table instead of reservations? There you go. It shows you're exactly right, how such a small thing can trigger someone. And Colin, I don't know if you saw, we were talking the other day about, is the customer always right? And the answer is obviously not. The customer is not always right, but they are always the customer, right? And so while for you and me, that just seems idiotic, ridiculous, childish to complain about such a thing, they're still the customer. So we've got to treat them like that. We never know. You're exactly right. We never know what's gonna set them off, how they're gonna respond. It's crazy. Well, that does it for today. Remember, everything matters. Focus on that. Break down the process. Everything matters to your customers. Yeah. That's one thing I do in speeches. Colin, I ask people, I don't mean to give you the speech, but I ask people, raise your hand. How many of you believe customers always behave rationally? And nobody raises their hand. And then I say, I'm going to tell you something. Customers always behave rationally from their point of view. That's what makes a difference, right? It's that they're right in their mind, and they're the customer. So everything matters. All right, that does it for us for today for Daily Distinction. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Make sure you check out iconicinnercircle.com or check out my website at scottmccain.com. And I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, same time, on the next edition of Daily Distinction. See you then.